need this mic? Yeah? Do we need this for the recording? Yeah, also they're doing the whole recording. So we have session 2 and two lovely people, two lovely educators and dear friend. Yeah. So may I invite Dr. Amlan Saha, CEO and Principal of the Sagar School, and Dr. Aditi Goradia. Goradia, right? Goradia, Managing Director, Billimoria High School. And they're going to talk about the future jobs. Future of jobs is green. How climate change is changing labor markets. And a couple of pointers that I think they're going to really explore are what exactly green skills means for the labor force in developing and emerging economies, and whether revising entire education and training systems to integrate the acquisition of green skills, does it make sense? Or do we have even an option? And especially also high focus on the global south. Thank you, and over to you. So you have till 12:15. Yeah? Yeah, and then I will raise the hand. Please.
Thank you.
Do you want to take the chairs in the center?
Sure. I think we have 2 mics.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning to all of you, and morning to my co-panelist. We are going to have a Vartalap, a dialogue on the topic Green Future, Skills and Jobs for a Sustainable World. With the permission of the co-chair, if I could put a mirror in the middle of the sentence, and if I could just juggle with the words a little bit, instead of telling it, sustainable future, green skills and jobs for a better world. It means the same probably, but I'm putting it in that context so that we start with the word sustainability. Now, if you go back in the history, it was in the year, if I'm not mistaken, 1987, in the Brundtland report, when for the first time this word sustainability came into context to let us know what is it all about. In a very simple term, it's a social goal for us to coexist on this planet for a long time. Simply put, nothing more than that. But if I look back at the report, just last year in 2023, UN report, it's IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, and it talks about the actions whatever we are taking during this decade is ultimately going to talk about the longevity of the generations to come. It's just last year's UN report which has come 2023. Keeping that in mind, that what is sustainability, why is it so important, probably it's urgent need to look into, and we need to focus on this particular parameter. I'm not telling AI is not important, but this is the lifeline for all of us. Aditi, which way would you like to take it forward in the context that sustainability, why is it so important for us? Definitely it will boil down to the educators as well.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, co-chairs. I'll get right down to it. We hear the words sustainability and green skills and green futures and organic living thrown about in conversations, but let's go to the very basics. It's very easy to say, not so easy to do. Right. At the same time, we talk about fast fashion and we talk about pollution. I mean, we talk about how EVs are good for the environment, but they're not good for the environment because the batteries are not so good for the environment. And so I think first step, as you said, sir, we have to understand the importance of sustainability. But before that, we also need to be sensitive ourselves and for future generations, even for our kids, to teach them why it's important. A couple of generations ago, you put garbage in the right place and composting was just a natural part of every household, and then things changed. And now there's all this, let's go back to the old ways. But, at the end of it, are we fully understanding the damage we do on a daily basis? to the future. And if we cannot fully understand or grasp it, because it is so difficult to grasp, because it's happening around us, but we're pretending like it's not. And so sensitizing ourselves and the children first to the reality of it, that the time is now and there is a scope. Because then there's also this, it's great to eat organic, but so expensive, right? Like, yes, we should eat chemical-free food and encourage farmers to grow chemical-free, but then it costs so much that why would I want a career in that? Since we're talking about the future of jobs as well, or the global south, which already financially struggles way more than the rest of the world. So how do we convince ourselves and our children that there is a way forward in taking a brave step towards very drastic change in our lifestyles and in our futures?
Thank you, Ms. Aditi. If we are talking about sustainability at this particular stage and the topic which has been given to us, it comes that we are talking about green skills or green future. We are talking about green jobs. Now, what is it all about? If we can together think in that particular line. If I may start thinking in this way, couple of years back, our children, if I look from that viewpoint, that okay, they all have to go and learn computers. Even we started learning computers probably at certain stage in our educator's life. It has happened. Today we are sending them to learn coding. That's exactly what is happening there. But what is this new thing about green skill? Now the way the digital skill is required for any particular job in today's context, probably for any job of future, green skill is going to be a must. There is no way out from there. And probably that has to go inside our head very clearly. And if I may refer to certain statistics, and I'm going to pass on certain report to the co-chairs, they can just circulate to the rest. And it's a report of 2023, 2024 report hasn't come out. And it's a report which all of us follow it on LinkedIn. And it talks about the current green skill, those who have got the workforce which have got the green skill, the worldwide percentage is only 12.4%. And the posting of jobs which require the green skills is almost double, 22.8%. So look at the supply what you have got and look at the demand what you have got in the market, which is double. And the gap is going to get widen and widen in the coming years. So probably this is one of the parts which we cannot ignore, that green skill is a skill we need to learn, the workforce need to learn, and there it comes back what Lakshmi ma'am was talking about, it has to get embedded in the school education at the end of the day. What's your take on this?
I absolutely agree, sir. I think I'll add one more statistic to yours, and it may not be accurate, but somewhere I was reading that over 30% of IIT grads this year did not get placements. Correct. So you've got 12%. Right. 280, but even then, 280 candidates, perhaps with a little bit of, if they'd pursued that other 12% that is empty. Correct. Yes. So perhaps that irrespective of what kind of degrees and education we're getting, I don't think that green skills should be seen as a standalone. I think it should be an innate part of human existence, right? And how do you define green skills? Is a question I've been asking for the last 3 days since I received this agenda. Like, why are we defining it as something that's unique? It should be innately a part of everything that we teach our children, and it should be inculcated. And I think I do agree that sometimes statistics and numbers are a great way to encourage it, that there are jobs out there that require you to know this. There are jobs out there that require you to think in this perspective, right? And whether you're going to become a fashion designer or an engineer or a scientist, you do need to also think and pursue the world with a certain viewpoint that the future needs to be green or the future may not exist.
Absolutely correct. Ms. Aditi, let me give you the answer that why do we require the green skills? maybe through another statistics. The current report says, regarding the whole workforce of the world, only 1 out of 8 persons is having at least one green skill. So that means, in alternative word, 7 out of 8 persons in the workforce, they do not have even a single green skill. So you understand the need of having it.
Yes.
Going it further,
Yes.
between 2022 and 23, the percentage of increase of job postings requiring at least one green skill in LinkedIn, it has grown by 15.9% just in 1 year. So it has to be a part and parcel of growing up, particularly for the next generation. You can't avoid it. Okay. Let's move on from green skill to green jobs, probably a little more. What is your take that which way the jobs are going to look green in future?
So before we go to green jobs, I do have I do have a question for you, sir,
Yes, sir.
on
Yes,
green skills.
Aditi.
What would your advice be to all of us educators? How do we bring this into our classrooms and our schools? Because I am quite shocked at you're saying that most people do not have even one green skill.
Yes, that's the
so
actual
that's quite
reality.
shocking from you know, because we live up in the mountains, we have a very sustainable livelihood over there, but it is the reality of the world, you know, once we leave our mountain. So how would you suggest, you know, that this can be brought into a daily lifestyle for our children, or how do we bring a curriculum in that inculcates green skills? I think let's talk about that before you talk about how do they
Okay.
get jobs in it then.
Absolutely. I think the answer lies what Sonal ma'am gave in one of the answers during that time. She's not here. It is the statement what I started with. It's a social goal for all of us. So if that can be inculcated into our curriculum, I mean, whether you talk about values or the tradition or ethics to our for us to the planet, if it can go ingraded, and if you look at the gentleman, I forgot his name, who gave one of the speech in the morning, showing a couple of Akshal. Yes, Akshal. On the right hand corner, on the third row, even there was one ingredient for the kindergarten. It was written patriotism. Yeah, it was there. So it means even that skill is getting embedded in a similar fashion. This has to be a learning part of the learning curriculum. There is no way out. Now, whether you teach it in a playway method, whether you teach it as a part of the co-curricular activities or at the mainstream curriculum, that's up to us, the educators, and the those who are deciding factors in the society, in the education sector. They have to take that particular call, but it has to be a part of the curriculum.
In fact, not just, I would say it should be a part of every day. Cleaning
life.
your classroom, not throwing trash, limiting plastic use. These are things that we should just be doing, irrespective, and we should encourage our kids to. But yes, so green jobs.
Yes.
Then, so how do you turn this lifestyle into a career? Right? How do you say that I like to not throw trash and I like to reduce my plastic? I want to reduce my carbon footprint, and how do I also make money out of it? You know, how do I also make a career out of reducing carbon footprints? And while looking this up, there are two things that I found very interesting. One is that, like I said earlier, it's easier said than done. There are industries, very powerful ones, that are not exactly sustainable. Fast fashion is an example. Right? And how do we cannot just say, okay, we're going to stop buying those t-shirts, or we're going to stop buying, or we're only going to wear, you know, pure cotton. We can't do that anymore to the world. But our children can be encouraged to come up with ideas and ways to encourage the existing on how to be more sustainable. So there's a lot of investment. We were looking up stats, $350 billion annually at least being invested in how to research, on researching how to make existing damages to the planet less damaging, right? How to make fashion more sustainable, how to make cosmetics more sustainable, how to make cars more sustainable. We talk about EVs, but now we're finding out they're not the best option. But hopefully, one of our students, or a handful of them, 10, 15 years from now, will have the green thinking, not just the green skills, but the green thinking, and the concept skills or the learning that we are giving them, the mainstream learning, that they will say, hey, I'm going to come up with a better option than the EV. So this, again, I would say that green jobs is not a standalone or a unique thing. I think in existing jobs, we need to be a little more green.
Absolutely. I think the jobs will become greener as you move on with the green skills. That's the way we need to look into this whole aspect. But as you are talking about EV, and let's look at that's the reality right now, and think what has happened in the EV industry. Probably one of the fastest growing green job industries, if I may put it. Not exactly one of the fastest, because there is another one. But in the EV industry, if you look, the change is very rapid. Between 2018 and 2023, 61% jump has taken place where the workers require EV skill. EV skill is considered to be one of the green skills. Okay? And 61% it has increased. And if you look at the countries who have got the most EV skills auto workers, Sweden, United Kingdom, any idea what percentage of workforce do they have in the auto industry having green skills? Anyone? Odd guess. 50%. Thank you so very much, sir. Not even double digit. 8.1% is the highest worldwide. That's the situation actually in terms of green job. And while talking about industry, you will get a surprise. Out of all the industries, the industry which is going the fastest in terms of employing the green skills and the green job requirement is the finance industry. 14.8% is the current rate of their growing up. Finance industry, no one can think about. We think about automobile, we think about oil industry, we think about something else. But this is exactly what is going on.
So, sir, I will bring the global south into this one. Again, going back to EVs. So every time I meet somebody, and we of course drive one, and our families in the US also do. Every time I meet somebody who says, I'm gonna, my next car's an EV, I always have this question: is your motivation the fuel prices, or is your motivation saving the planet? Right? And this is, and I don't say this to be rude, but it's a very, for the global south specifically, if we look at our country or the region we live in, South Asia, every day is survival, essentially, right? Every day you choose to make things easier or harder for yourself. And so, as you said, so countries like Sweden have made the shift, and their motivation is most likely slightly different from ours when we make the shift to electric vehicles or solar panels per se. Right? Solar panels are just cheaper for my school than using electric heaters. My electric bills are lower. That's my motivation. Of course, as a side bonus, I'm being a little kinder to my environment. And so the green thinking, inculcating the green thinking that yes, it'll be less expensive, but guess what? It'll also be this much better for your future. For your future, because it's also, yes, and that's where we need to reach. We start the thinking from, yes, let's be more economical, because, like Indians are just, one skill we have is to think economically, right? Which I'm very proud of. And so shifting that thinking to say, hey, I can be kind to the environment, I can do something good for the world, and also not compromise my finances. Because for our children, when we do career counseling, the most amazing thing I've been seeing is when you ask the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? The first thing is, ma'am, what's going to make me the most amount of money? For our children, the priority is that. When will I get my freedom? I want financial freedom. I want to be able to buy the car I want to buy because I can afford it. So if we want to build green careers, we are going to have to make green careers sustainable financially for our children's future. And then the world will become sustainable.
Beautiful. Yes. Wonderful.
Ma'am, just a small thing.
Yes.
I own and run India's second largest recycling plastic industry called React.
And we must bring all of our kids to you, sir, to see how it works.
We are listed on the exchange, but I have certain very different. We operate out of 5 states right now.
So what we'll do is, we will have 2 minutes for question and answer, but you must put your point
I don't know.
also.
I can share some experiences.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of employment which I
Yeah,
do.
that-
Yes, I think it's a great addition to the conversation.
I think we'll take your question for sure.
Yes.
I think
Up, 1 minute. So,
Global South and
You are talking about green thinking. Let me join the dots telling a story here.
Yes.
And a story from our country. And if you all Google afterwards, put the name GRC and 1 rupee mango plantation. Probably we'll find this story afterwards. You can check it. This gentleman, an edupreneur, he has got one university and many institutes in one part of our country, and he has launched this particular campaign very recently with a target of 100 trillion mango plantation. And I'm linking it here that we all know that the plants, they sequester carbon dioxide. And an average fruit tree will probably give out, biology student and chemistry teacher might agree, that average 22 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year. Think about 100 trillion mango trees plantation. So on an average, you are going to get carbon dioxide annually, if you think about 2.2 trillion tons of carbon dioxide. And the current rate, it varies. Average rate of carbon credit, $10 per ton. If you think in that way, we are talking through this green thinking, an economy of 22 trillion $, economy through this green thinking and global south is actually. This is a true story. It has happened, it has been launched, and probably it's going to be very successful. So if we can all think in that line, and we can go ahead, like Professor Gautam Raichaudhuri, what he has done in the recent past, I think it will be a great example. And also Sir is going to come up with certain project he's going to talk about. These are the life examples, and if we can educate our children through these models that, okay, this is the you have got on your plate, take it forward. I think that's all from our side. We'll be very happy to
I
pick up a
think it's
couple of
about
questions.
busting the myth, which Sir will now help us do.
Very brief. I'll just give you a very brief background. I have spent, I graduated in 81. 83 I got into packaging, and packaging was a accidental thing for me. We were all fans of Mrs. Robinson, if you've seen The Graduate. The era was born in late 50s and 60s. And Mrs. Robinson's husband was just telling the protagonist of the film, the future is plastics, plastics. And plastics was the upcoming thing. I sold hell of a lot of plastics. I polluted hell of a lot of the environment. And then suddenly a lot of things started, hitting us back. Started a school. I switched gears. I didn't want to be in the industry. But I got back and we got into recycling. So here, unfortunately, like in our country, everything has to go through the ministers and the government. And the government now floats tenders. They invite us and they give you states. So like Assam was given, Odisha, and we got a couple more states. And they promise us certain waste because waste has to be collected, segregated, and then we have plants. We use processes like pyrolysis. I will not bore you. Sir will understand. So we do a whole lot of that. The idea here is that we are years away. We talk a lot about it. Since we got listed, I employ close to 800 interns. We have about 400 people in the plant and about 300, 400. So there are a lot of companies like me into EPR. So there is employment potential. It's just the beginning. Because in packaging also, if you are using plastic packaging, you have to buy a credit or you have to do EPR, which is coming in, because that's compulsory. So that will promote a lot of, there is a lot of future in environment.
Absolutely.
I'm talking only per se polymers. That's the only thing I understand. But there's there's enormous
Massive
future.
scope.
There'll be very good jobs.
My family
Yes. so sorry. Thank you for your time.
That's a conversation everyone can have in their schools about how there are jobs. Yeah?
Thank you, sir.
I think Sir's got a
so much. I think no, I'll be loud enough, sir. While studying engineering, the only green jobs we knew were the one with green cards and American dollars. I think what I feel is, can we make greens more aspirational? That's the whole idea. Like I've been going to
That's what's so beautifully about it.
We've been going to schools talking about Paris Olympics, perhaps the most green Olympics of. We didn't do well hockey. We just won. That's good. What I love, Dr. Saha, you said a lot of statistics.
Yes.
Can we tell stories to our kids about how green things,
You must.
SDGs? Can we become SDG oriented schools? And I think I just want to comment on
We're
that.
supposed to. And
Yes. Saying that, so I really don't want to bite into time because we are, but even I feel what you're saying, if you worry, we've talked about action then, yes, it has to become a way of life in everyday classroom teaching and very simple things. For example, consumerism, we have to talk a lot against it because if you don't do that, it never works. It just doesn't work. So you're talking about T-shirts and what's there in your Almera? Do you really need it? So these are the kind of thoughts, or even those simple things that we've been talking for centuries. But even now, a child would waste water when he's brushing, would never have a balti bath. So there are so many such little things, I think, which we could inculcate in everyday thinking. When he grows up with that, he becomes what we expect them
And
to.
they will create the jobs. They will create the economy. They will create the jobs because the investors are sitting by. The investors are waiting for the good ideas.
No, it's the biggest thing.
There's so many, it's a startup.
Yes.
Environment is the biggest thing.
Most important.
Yes.
That's why we got this
As far
introduced,
as
today.
The thinking
industry
environment.
and jobs is
Yeah.
coming, it's
Yeah.
the biggest thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
20
the
from now, most of your jobs are going to come out of it.
Yes.
I think that's also the sales pitch for our career guidance.
Very sure.
All right. Yeah, I have faith
We
for
can
my
go on and
yes.
on with this. And
Thank you.
thank you so much. And I think both of you all were brilliant. Yeah. Come.
At least we Indians will exist. Goro ka pata hai.
I'm honest.